your abandonment wounds can literally destroy your success and your potential if you're not too careful. And in this video, I want to talk about how you can really heal your abandonment wounds so that they don't hold you back from living your best life. Because let's be honest, right now, you are people pleasing hard. You are constantly over sacrificing yourself for other people, overextending yourself, giving too much of yourself, going so above and beyond for people who barely give you a bit of that back. And I know that it's not fulfilling for you. I know it's draining your energy and it's making you honestly feel like shit about yourself and who you are. It's making you question your self-worth. It's making you question the people around you, the people that you have poured so much energy into. And it's probably making you resent them at the end of the day. And you know what this video is? This video is all about taking your power back. It's about taking your power back and not letting your abandonment wounds dictate how you now show up in life. It's about taking the power back so that you are also pouring into yourself as much as other people. And most importantly, it's about taking your power back so that your success, your potential isn't limited by the fear, the anxiety, the experiences of the past. Because, honey, it is time to let them go. It's time to let these abandonment wounds go. It's time to start healing yourself and to start setting a new standard for the women around you about what it means to truly show up for yourself. And that's honestly why I'm so passionate about this, because I really think it just takes one woman to start showing up for herself, one woman to start setting that standard of how women should be around everybody else and what it means to be a woman who's also equally pouring into herself as much as she's pouring into the people around her, to just make a shift, a ripple effect on all other women. Because I am just so sick and tired of seeing women constantly overpour themselves and not, pour that energy back into themselves. And I'm sick and tired of seeing that, and I think it's time we really set a new standard.
Hi, I'm Dr. Visley Natley. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapy certified naturopathic doctor, mindset mentor, and brain optimization coach. I am on a mission to help high achievers like you release their anxieties, crush their fears, and rise to their highest potential. I am obsessed with all things brain health, nervous system regulation, identity shifting work, subconscious rewiring, and mastering the mindset that is going to help you build the life of your dreams. This is your space if you're ready to stop playing small, reconnect with your power, and finally feel good in your body, clear in your mind, and aligned with your purpose. Around here, we go deep mentally, emotionally, and physically so that you can step into the most elevated, successful, and soul-fed version of yourself. It's time to maximize.
And also, abandonment wounds don't just show up in women, they also show up in men too. Men can do this exact same thing as well. Abandonment wounds can also show up as someone, starting to be really avoidant as well, right? And pushing people away, pushing things away because they're afraid to open up, because they're afraid that if they open up, they are going to be vulnerable to being abandoned by the other person, which is always a fear of everybody who fears opening up. And then we also can have that anxious side too, right? People are just like, other people were just like so giving, so attached to the other person, willing to do whatever, that they don't want them to leave them because they're afraid of being abandoned in that way. So it can kind of show up in those two different ways, but essentially stems from that same abandonment wound place. And I can definitely relate to this abandonment wound. It is something that to this day, today still, that I am struggling with, that I'm trying to work on overcoming and building just a more powerful way of looking at myself and just not being afraid of people leaving me. And I'm going to share in this video what I did to actually overcome and heal my abandonment wound, because I was always a person in relationships to, really just overextend, because I was just so scared of people not liking me, whether it was like romantic relationships or even friendships. And I would always feel the need to like buy extravagant birthdays or be there for people no matter what, even at the expense of myself. And really, that's what abandonment is, right? You are abandoning yourself to be there for other people, and it's at the expense of you. It's at the expense of you. And that's what we need to make sure that you're not doing anymore, like being there for others at the expense of you, because then you're abandoning yourself. And we don't want that. That's going to make the abandonment wounds even worse. And so I would always overextend, overgive myself, and it just got to this point where I just felt honestly miserable. I felt miserable in my life. I felt miserable in terms of how I was overgiving to others, and especially in romantic relationships, right? Constantly overgiving, constantly always being the one who's just like ready to do anything at any time. And like, honestly, it was like I just didn't have any respect for myself. Like, I hate to just say that out loud, but that's what it truly was. It was like I had zero respect for myself. And because I had zero respect for myself, I was willing to constantly give up all parts of myself whenever anybody else asked for it. And even as I'm just like talking about this like out loud, I'm just like, oh, it's just giving me like the ick to think about the fact that that's like what it was at the core of, right? Is like me just having like zero respect for myself and who I was as a person. Um Definitely not in that place and in that boat right now, and it's been a lot of unlearning that I've had to do, because the other thing here too is that abandonment wounds also show up because you place so much of your value and worth in the people around you. And that needs to shift up, because that was me for the longest time, right? Like, I would always enter a room and I would look at other people and be like, how is everybody perceiving me? Or like, I need to dress in a certain way so everybody perceives me in a certain way. Or, I need to go above and beyond and do these things for other people so that they would like me. And so much of this stems from like when I was bullied and back in middle school. I remember for 3 years I would cry home on the bus every single day because kids made fun of my long hair. I had a thick unibrow at that time. I was a hairy AF girl, and I wasn't allowed to shave or wax for a little while. And so at a very young age, I just formed this belief that if I don't do everything to fit in, then people will leave me. Then no one will like me. And that's exactly what I need to do. I need to be this like beautiful chameleon who is able to adapt herself to any situation, to any person, and become the most ideal version of myself for them. And if you've ever read Robert Greene's Laws of Seduction book, I haven't finished the whole book, but I did go through his different avatars and archetypes he describes. I am the ideal lover to a T. To a T. I am so good at literally forming myself, not even in just romantic relationships, also friendships. I'm so good at being a chameleon and understanding what the other person needs and wants and perfectly showing up in that way so that they like me, so that they see me as a good friend, so that they see me as a good girlfriend, as a good partner. And I'm so good at doing that. But what does it come at the cost of? Myself always, because I'm constantly you know, giving away my values and what I really want and all of those needs. And I'm putting that on the back burner so that I can show up as an ideal version of myself for the other person. And I have done that in a past relationship before. And honestly, it just created so much resentment within me for that person. And it's what's interesting is that it's not even that the other person was doing anything. It was me who was constantly putting myself at the back burner for this other person. And I started to hate them after a while. And really it was me hating myself because I was constantly hiding my needs and wants in order to make sure their needs and wants were constantly met. And what I also found too is that this had a direct impact on honestly my ability to be successful in my business. Because I was just constantly hiding what I really wanted, what I needed, I would allow other people to take up my time even though I didn't have time. Right? I would answer phone calls to people during the day when it's just like, no, I need to be working. And now I have pretty hard rules and boundaries that if I'm working during the day, I put my phone on focus mode and I'll answer like my dad's call or my mom's call. But other than that, I really try not to answer other people's calls unless we have a meeting scheduled, because I need to protect my work time during the day. And it's really easy for someone to call me and then all of a sudden an hour of my day is done, taken up, and then I haven't gotten the work that I want to get done. And I was there for someone at the expense of myself. And of course, emergencies are there. I'm always there for my friends if they need me. But if it's not, I really try to be mindful of that, because I also need to put myself first and take care of myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the people who love you in your life will always, always respect that. So abandonment wounds are very, unfortunately, near and dear to my heart and something I'm still constantly working towards. And now I have awareness to the point where I'll say yes to a hangout or say yes to hanging out with someone. I'll be like, why did I do that? I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to say yes to that. And then I'll take a step back and I'll be like, okay, actually, I'm sorry I said yes to that. And I've gotten better at actually, just apologizing for saying yes, or being like, I'm actually not available at this time, and adjusting needs and things like that. So I'm getting better at it, but it's still definitely a work in progress, because if you do have abandonment wounds and you're the one who's used to always saying yes, your default is going to become that. So it's going to take a little bit of time to really unlearn this pattern. For a little while, you will automatically be saying yes to everything until you learn how to break out of that pattern. So please be nice to yourself. Please be kind to yourself as you really work through this, because it is going to take a while for you to truly break out of this habit. And for a little while, you're going to be acting on automatic and saying yes to everything without actually realizing it. And now, with that being said, how do you truly and actually break out of abandonment wounds? The easiest way, and this is really just the one tip for this video today, is you have to stop abandoning yourself. That's how you finally break out of abandonment wounds. Because when you start respecting yourself, when you start treating yourself like someone who is of value, nobody can abandon you. How can anybody abandon you when you are so full of love, so full of yourself, and just so in a good spot with yourself mentally? Literally nobody can actually abandon you. And that's what I want you to truly understand with this video today, is that if you want to break out of these abandonment wounds, if you finally want to stop letting other people rule your life, it means you need to start showing up for yourself. So first things first that I want you to start doing is I want you to start looking at what areas of your life are you abandoning yourself in. So, for example, right, like if you want to go through your career for the day. So, what I did is I sat down and I was like, okay, during the workday, how am I abandoning myself? I am answering phone calls when I don't need to. I'm answering emails all throughout the day and letting other people distract me and take me away from that energy, right? And just really reflect and sit on those things. Then think about in friendships, how are you abandoning yourself, right? Maybe you're buying extravagant gifts for your friends when you yourself can't really afford it. Been there, done that. Maybe you are saying yes to plans and hangouts without actually looking at, do you have space and room in your schedule to make it work? I've been there, done that. Think about romantic relationships, right? Maybe you are always ready to hang out with your partner whenever they ask. Or when you're dating, anybody wants to go on a date at like 9 p.m. on a Wednesday and it's like 7:30 p.m. and they ask you, you're just like, yep, I'm ready. Let's go, right? Without not even thinking about, maybe you want to go to bed on time because you have work the next day, right? Or maybe you don't feel like going out and actually getting ready and dressed, or maybe you just want the night for yourself, or maybe you have other plans. And so really reflect on these different areas of your life and look at how are you constantly abandoning yourself for other people. Then once you've uncovered that, the next step is having the awareness to start now doing the opposite, or doing a check-in with yourself before you actually commit to something, right? And making sure, most importantly, actually, I'll say this afterwards. So what does this look like, right? If someone asks you to hang out, I always say have a phrase. My phrase is, let me check my schedule. That's what I say. Before I used to always be like, oh my God, yeah, sure, that sounds great. And it's like, no, Miss Lane, stop doing that because you're sabotaging yourself. So I'll always say, let me check my schedule. And then, or sometimes I'll be like, that's not within my financial budget right now. Thanks for asking though. Maybe give me about a month and then we can look back into this. So really just even being honest and raw and open as to what's feasible for you right now versus what's not feasible for you can be helpful. So you really want to have some sort of mantra or line or saying that you can say when people ask you to commit. Or if you constantly have this like one date or person asking to hang out late at night, just being like, I'm sorry, but I don't hang out last minute. I don't have time for last minute plans. I've literally had people try to make last minute plans with me or like invite me to things last minute. I'm just like, I'm so sorry, but I don't have flexibility in my schedule for last minute plans. Right? Because I'm extremely busy. Versus before, honestly, what I would have done is like, I would have gone above and beyond to make this plan work. Just recently, one of my friends asked me to come to a cottage weekend for her birthday. She asked me on Wednesday, and the cottage weekend was just the Friday. And as much as I love her and I would have loved to come, it just was too last minute for me. And in the past, what I would have done is I would have gone above and beyond, move everything around in my schedule to just make it work and show up for her. But I had to just like take a step back and be like, I can't do that. I have other plans already made and I know it's her birthday and I would have loved to come, but it's just like I don't have flexibility in my schedule to be able to have this last minute plan. And plus I'm hanging out with her on like the Monday, so I was like, it's fine. Wish her happy birthday. And before in the past, that guilt would have killed me and made me feel so bad. But I was like, I can't, and that is okay. And so you really need to start asking yourself, what is the standard you want to set for yourself, right? For you, maybe you're just like, oh my God, the cottage weekend sounded so fun. I would have just loved to go. Then cool. You can do that. It's not like you have to follow, for example, the rules that I have, but you need to decide for yourself what is that standard that you need to set for yourself, and how can you start living your life in a way so that you are not abandoning yourself on a day-to-day basis. Because when you stop abandoning yourself and when you start seeing someone of value, nobody can abandon you. Right now in my life and where I'm at, nobody can abandon me. How are you going to abandon me? I love myself so much. I love myself so much. I take such amazing care of myself. I work out, I eat healthy, I, work on my mental health. I'm like deeply in love with myself. You can't abandon someone who's in love with themselves. You can't abandon someone who takes care of themselves. You can't abandon someone who does the hard things and shows up for themselves every single day. You can't abandon me. Like, if you were to come into my life, be my friend, we hang out, we're having a great time, and all of a sudden you just disappear out of my life without ever telling me anything, would I be sad? Of course I'd be sad, especially if we got to be great friends. But you can't abandon me. You can't take a core part of me away, or leave me wounded with that, because that's work I've done on myself to get to a place where I value and respect and love myself so much that other people don't have that power and control over me. This is how you're going to break out the abandonment wound, right? So you need to reset those standards for yourself. And the second thing that I just talked about here is that you need to take care of yourself like someone who's of value. And you're not doing that right now. You're not feeding yourself the right foods. You're not getting enough rest. You're not moving your body enough. You're not taking care of your mind and flourishing your mind and feeding your mind with positive thoughts and positive things. You need to start doing these things. This is how you are going to heal your abandonment wounds. When we feel abandoned, it's because we feel like someone has left us in our life and has made us feel less than. That's what abandonment is. You're made to kind of feel less than. Maybe I should have actually Googled the definition of abandonment before I made this video and actually included that definition. But whatever, we're just going to use my definition for this. But, right, like, abandonment is like a negative thing. Like, we're made to feel less than. We're made to feel alone because someone else chose to leave us. But if you love yourself and take care of yourself, you'll still be sad if someone leaves you and you really love them, but they can't abandon you. Abandonment is giving other people permission to make us feel less than because they're no longer in our lives. So if your value and worth isn't based off of the other person, nobody can literally abandon you. Your value and worth should be based off of you and what you think about yourself and how you show up for yourself. Your value and worth should be all under your control. What's happening is that you're putting your value and worth in a silver platter and giving it to the other person. Been there, done that, right? I feel like I'm the queen of was the queen of looking at other people and reading their reactions and things like that and adjusting myself perfectly so I fit their definition of what they wanted me to be. But you need to take your value and worth back and make sure that you are the one who is in charge of your value and your worth. And this is how you're going to heal your abandonment wounds. You're going to take back that powered energy. You're going to reset your standards. You're going to have a couple of lines that you say when people are crossing those standards and boundaries. And then lastly, you're going to start taking care of yourself as if you are a queen/king who matters, because you actually do. And you practice these things consistently, nobody will have the opportunity to abandon you. And this is exactly how I overcame my abandonment wounds. And how I really got myself out of that space and into a space where I am so deeply in love with myself, and I don't give anybody the permission to do that and make me feel that way anymore. So I hope that this video was helpful, and I hope that's given you a clear insight and way to heal your abandonment wounds. And I really hope you take action on this stuff, because if you're constantly waking up and showing up in this world as if you're so freaking afraid to be abandoned, well, what's going to happen is that you're going to limit your own potential. You're going to limit your own potential. You're going to limit your own success. And you're going to live a small life because you're going to be so freaking afraid of the people around you. And I don't want that for you.